Verbal Riot.
So it's been like a week, right, since we lost Hulk Hogan. And unlike Malcolm Jamal Warner, unlike Ozzy Osbourne, unlike many others that we actually lost last week, this particular death is not resting in peace. Okay. There's been a lot of fighting, there's been a lot of cancellations, there's just been a lot of, let's just say, heated debate about Hulk Hogan's legacy. And look, I told you guys last week, I made a video about Hogan passing, and I told you guys in that video that even at the peak of wrestling, even when wrestling was at its purest, when the world seemed nicer, when the world seemed just a little bit more unified back in the 80s, when we all could get behind our heroes on screen, even at the peak of that, I was never a big Hulk Hogan fan, right? Before all the controversies, before all the BS on social media, he was just never my guy. I think I told you guys, my guys were like Macho Man Randy Savage, Ted DiBiase, Rick Rude, uh, those kind of guys, right? Like those were my guys. So I never had an attachment to Hogan the way some of y'all did. But here's the thing, I understood it. I understood it. He was Hulk Hogan. It was Hulkamania, right? It was Hulkamania running wild, and it got a lot of us into wrestling, which is great, right? So me being almost kind of withdrawn from this a little bit, it's just crazy to watch what's happening right now, right? Because look, I get it, there's people who are very passionate about Hulk Hogan, his life, and him passing away. He was a hero, I understand that, to some of y'all. To other people's, not so much. In fact, there's some people who really hate Hogan, right? And by the way, both sides are correct, because you have the right. You have the right to like or not like something or somebody, right? So this is a really kind of delicate issue for a lot of people. Now, me personally, it's not that I'm trying to walk a line here, right? Because I said it in my other video. I really like what Cody Rhodes did. Cody Rhodes on SmackDown last week was able to address the controversies in a very classy way, while at the same time giving Hogan his credit for everything that he's done. And I'm more about that approach. I'm of the mind of, unless I really hate you, I'm not going to dance on your grave, right? I'm not going to talk BS. I'll just be quiet, because it's easier to do that. And I just kind of wish other people would take that approach, if I'm being honest with you guys, man. Look, let's just address some things, okay? Hogan he did a lot for the business. He did a lot for wrestling, and you can never take that away from him. At the same time, whether it's rumors of people he screwed over in the locker room, there's other wrestlers who have talked publicly about how he kind of fucked them over. Whether it's that, whether it's him making a sex tape with his best friend's wife, and obviously the big one is the phone call, right? The leaked phone call where he, kind of drops the N bomb like 3 or 4 times, and especially in the way that he's doing it and saying it, it's pretty bad. Like, it is bad. Now, what I don't like, is the disingenuous, Hogan did nothing wrong. Why are people mad at him? Guys, stop the bullshit. Stop the bullshit, man. Just because maybe you weren't offended by it, there were people that were. And like I said, you got to understand, there were a lot of young black kids who grew up in the 80s and 90s who had the Hulkamania t-shirts, right? Who are Hulk Hogan fans, right? A lot of them, right? And to hear a call like that, to hear him say that shit, yeah, it's like, okay, fuck that guy, right? I mean, I'm saying that's how people feel. Some people feel about this. And to deny it and say that he did nothing wrong. No. Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea. Terry Bollea was a man. He was a man who did a lot of good things. He was a man who made his mistakes. Now, Should a man's whole life be defined by that one messed up moment, right? By one extremely bad uh, moment of bad judgment? No, absolutely not. Right? You can't take away a man's whole worth because one or two bad moments in his life that you happen to witness. Right? Hogan did a lot of good things. He propelled the wrestling business. He did a lot of Make-A-Wish stuff for kids. So yeah, I look, I'm a big believer in grace. I've made my mistakes. Shit, God knows I've made a ton of mistakes. Some might even deem unforgivable. But do I want my whole life defined by like mistakes I made when I was younger? Or just even mistakes I make now? Do I want my life defined by this? Absolutely not. So I extend the grace to Hogan. It's like, look, man, I'm not going to talk shit about you or about him. I'll give him his respect. It is a very complicated situation, but I give him his respect for what he's done. Maybe, and some people maybe aren't as forgiving, right? But that's for them, right? That's totally for them. But we gotta see the truth in all this. Whether if you're a fan of Hogan and you thought he was the greatest man on earth, that's cool. But you can also admit that he was a man who made mistakes. And stop the BSing of he did nothing wrong. Stop it. We've all done it. We've all done things wrong. Hogan's he's no exception. Okay. That brings us to two men, right? And two men who have one man who has a very big following and one man who was a very, sort of well-known actor from the 90s and early 2000s. These are men who both, when Hogan died, shared some things on their heart about the fact that, hey, Hogan was a hero to them. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. If that's what he was to them, they had every right to share that they were fans of Hulk Hogan. Now, I want to start with Joey Swoll. Now, if you guys don't know who Joey Swoll is, he's a fitness influencer. He does a lot of good things for people, man. Like, this is a good dude. Joey Swoll is a very good dude. So, like, I almost hate to see him going through this because he's helped a lot of people, man. He's helped a lot of people. And I feel like he's kind of getting a raw deal in this a little bit, right? Like, I don't agree with what he did, but at the same time, I don't think this man should be canceled because he made a mistake. Now, what is the mistake I'm talking about? Last week when Hogan died, Joey Swoll had posted this picture, right? He posted a picture. Now, this is something that someone screen captured because he deleted this post, but someone was able to capture this before he did that. And in this picture, he had said basically that, and this is him cosplaying as Hulk Hogan. So that's him on the right and left, right? That's him in costume as Hulk Hogan in the gym. And he was talking about how Hulk Hogan inspired him to be who he was, right? Inspired him to be Joey Swoll, right? And kind of gave, homage to the man, right? Nothing wrong with it. That was his hero. That's what he wanted to do. And honestly, wasn't a big deal. But I guess what happened was he got some heat from people who don't like Hogan because of the things that he said, right? And he backtracked. He deleted the post and he made a video apologizing. So let's take a look at that real quick.
I owe my followers, my community, and all of social media an apology. A few days ago, I reposted an old video of me in the gym wearing a Hulk Hogan Halloween costume on the day that he passed. Last night in my live stream, a lot of people expressed how upset and frustrated they were with me that I had posted that. Instead of listening and understanding like I should have, I became defensive and said that I was posting to celebrate the wrestling icon, the person that so many of us looked up to as kids that we grew up with, that made us tear our shirts and take our vitamins and say our prayers. I didn't know to the extent of all the horrible things that he had done. Since last night, I have done a lot of research, talked to a few people, and learned all of the horrible, horrible things that that man has done, which is way more than just making a mistake.
Okay, I don't want to play the video too long because YouTube is they're weird. Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna let it rock.
Being human. So because of that, I have taken the videos down, and I apologize to anybody that I offended. I am sorry. Also, during last night's live stream, I used the word colored instead of saying person of color, which is a very outdated, very offensive term. A few moments later, somebody educated me and told me that it wasn't okay to use that, which I immediately apologized to everyone and said I would never do that again. So once again, to anybody that I offended, I am sorry.
Okay, I'll end that one there. So yeah, he apologized for two things, right? He apologized, for the people he might have offended with the Hogan post, and then he called black people colored, which I can't help him there. I don't know where he even, like, damn, dude, I haven't heard that word since like the 60s, man. Like, like colored. Who the hell says that, man? But all right. And look, man, even with all that, okay, again, this is Joey Swoll having a moment. He's having a moment that should not define all the good that he's done up until now. But a lot of people were pissed. A lot of people were pissed that he apologized, that he bowed to the woke mob, right? And that shit. Guys, look, man, I understand it. I do. I made a comment. I posted it and I said, look, and my comment, I don't know how people took it, because what I meant by my comment when I retweeted what he said was, look, man, you're going to lose more followers because of this apology, more so than the offense itself, right? And I said that because this is where we are in society, right? It's either them or us, right? It's either the libs or it's the right wing, right? And it's sad that we can't have like a nuanced conversation about stuff like this, because now a bunch of people who are on the right want to cancel him, and they want to, they're unfollowing him, and they're, talking shit about him because he apologized for taking down his post about Hulk Hogan and talking about Hulk Hogan in this way. Again, I get it. The wounds are fresh. Hogan just passed away. He had a lot of fans. I get it. At the same time, we want to talk about forgiving Hogan for the things that he's done in the past and not defining a man by his bad moments. But yet, we're doing that to Joey Swoll, right? He had a bad moment. Guy's done a lot of good. But here we are. Now, what I find complete BS, and I'm definitely going to get into it more with the next guy I'm going to talk about. What I find BS is him saying he didn't know about any of this stuff. I look, man, just stand 10 toes down on what you said, right? First of all, Joey Swoll he shouldn't have apologized. And not to cater to the woke mob or to cater to the conservatives, not to cater to anybody. It's like, dude, if this is how you feel about Hulk Hogan, if he inspired you to be this man, stand 10 toes down on it. Don't buckle because one side of the political aisle is pissed off. Right? This is why I remain politically homeless. I refuse to be considered right wing or leftist or whatever. I just don't care about any of this stuff. Because for me, I believe in common sense. I believe in common sense. I believe in being my own person, walking my own path. So there's some things I agree with the left. There's some things I agree with the right. And I'll leave it at that. Right? Like Thanos said, perfectly balanced, as all things should be. That's like my motto in life. Perfectly balanced. Because you end up one or the other, you're fucked. Because then you're a sheep. And Joey's finding this out by apologizing. He should never have apologized for his post about Hogan. He shouldn't have. Good or bad, that was his hero. Stand by it. Now, that brings us to the next guy. Michael Rappaport has had a weird relationship with social media, man. If you guys don't know who Michael Rappaport is, IMDb him, because I honestly, there's probably only 2 movies I can remember him from. He's not the best actor in the world, but for some reason, he's been able to linger around Hollywood for a very long time. The only movie I actually really remember him from was a movie called Higher Learning, from a director named John Singleton. And he plays, funny enough, he plays a Nazi, or a skinhead in the movie. And Michael Rappaport, and I guess it's funny because I'm laughing, is because, he is definitely the opposite of that guy in real life. He's, married to a Black woman. He's always been a big part of the hip hop scene. The one thing I will give the man credit for is he made an incredible documentary about the rap group, A Tribe Called Quest, who was one of my favorite rap groups of all time. And he did them so much justice that, I'll always have a little love in my heart for the way he gave them that time on screen. So, but other than that, Michael Rappaport has been the biggest asshole on social media in the world, right? He started out as somebody who hated Trump, went off on Trump. He was, he had TDS probably worse than almost anybody. Then he flipped it, which is fine because you're allowed to see the BS in your own party and make some changes, right? And so then he became pro-Trump, right? During this past election. So he made a post about Hulk Hogan. He made a video, which I'm going to play right now.
Hulk Hogan passes away, we're not going to disrespect the Hulkster. That's what we're not going to do. Is we're not going to be disrespecting Hulk Hogan, the Hulkster. I don't care if he had some controversy outside of the ring. I don't care if he endorsed Donald Trump. We're talking about one of the most original characters in American popular culture history, whether you know wrestling or you're a fan of wrestling or not. We are talking about a guy who created something out of his imagination that captured the world's attention. Men, women, and children all know who Hulk Hogan is, who the great Hulk Hogan was. And like I said, I don't care about him endorsing Trump. I don't care about the stuff that was controversial. We're not going to be disrespecting the man with the 18-inch pythons, brother. We're not going to be disrespecting the Hulkster for the joy that he gave.
Okay. So that's Rappaport talking about his love of Hogan, and then we're not going to disrespect him. We're not going to disrespect him, right? For all the things that Hogan has done, we're gonna give the man his flowers, right? You just saw it. That was his own words coming out of his own mouth. So literally like a day later, maybe 2 days later, this came out. Michael Rappaport sent a post to a site called the Shade Room. The Shade Room is basically it's kind of like Instagram's version of Black Twitter, right? It's a site where they focus on hip hop and things most related to like Black celebrities and things like that, right? So he sent this letter, and he says, when I did my now controversial virtual video about Hulk Hogan, it was literally 2 hours after he passed, and all I saw were people going off about his association with Trump. That's it. I didn't see, and I was not aware of the racist remarks he made. Let me say it again. I was not aware of the racial remarks he made. I've spoken out admittedly and repeatedly on this platform about racism, sexism, police brutality, LGBTQ BQ rights, and all the things that are anti-Jewish. Also, thousands of people of all races commented on my video expressing their love for Hulk Hogan. So they either didn't know about those remarks, or they forgot, or they forgave. Okay, that's some bullshit. That is some bullshit. Because we just watched the video where he said he didn't care about the controversy before. he is fucking lying. He knew about this. And honestly, I feel like Joey Swoll knew about it too. For them to both say they didn't know, right? That's where it gets, for me, I don't want to say unforgivable, but it kind of sheds a light on their integrity for me. Because I'm like, you didn't know? Really? You really didn't know? That, nah, bruh. Y'all knew. Y'all knew. But here's the thing. Y'all knew when you forgave and you were still a fan. Like, I'd have more respect if y'all would have just said that. If they would have just said, hey, I know he said some fucked up things, he's done some fucked up things, but you know what? He also did a lot of good. And you know, I still admire the man. And that's not hard to do. I did it in 2 videos already where I said I was never a big fan, right? And I didn't like all the shit he said and done, but at the same time, I'm not going to hold his whole life against him because of those 2 moments or because of those few moments. That's all they had to do, is say something like that. But nah, they completely backtracked. Completely. Now, I'm guessing what happened with Michael Rappaport is his black wife probably got on his ass when she realized he made that video. So when he said 2 hours, yeah, she probably, you know, was out shopping for groceries, you know, came home and saw he made that video and then made him immediately apologize for it. Like, I'm guessing that's what happened with Michael Rappaport. But and as far as canceling Michael Rappaport, no one watched his movies anyway, so it almost doesn't matter, right? To not support Michael Rappaport is not a hard thing to do. But these are 2 men who literally stood on no business, right? It's like Joey Swoll is supposed to be like this, you know, masculine dude, and you know, he's you know, works out, and he's, you know, he's supposed to be this guy, right? This stud kind of guy. But he lost his balls. Now, I understand he has fans of both sides of the political aisle, which is, I get it, right? But here's the thing, fellas, you got to stand for something. Doing YouTube, it would be very easy for me to sell my ass. It'd be really easy for me to just make videos catering to people, and whether it goes against my conscience or not, you know, to appease them, even though I might not agree with what I'm saying, just for more views, just for more clicks, right? It's easy to do it. And there's times where I'm like, why am I not doing it? Why am I not treating this like a grift? Like some people are. Right? Like, how come I'm not getting paid, you know, by selling my ass the way some people are? Because you got to stand on something, man. You got to stand on something, and you got to stand for something. I have no problem with Joey Swoll. I think he messed up. I think he messed up, but you know what? This guy goes out of his way to expose shady ass women at the gym who are trying to trap guys on social media by getting them to look at them when they're working out, right? He helps guys who are out of shape, right? Helps them, you know, get their life back together, like get their life in shape. He helps a lot of people, man. So I don't want to define this man for this one apology that he made. And if we're being completely honest here, guys, look, I'm sorry, but, and I'm just going to say this, and who knows, you know, I might even lose followers for saying this right now. Y'all on the right are literally just as bad as the people on the left, man. So sometimes, right, when it comes to this cancellation shit, the same thing that the same shit you talk about the left, about how they're easily offended, how they easily go after people. Y'all can do the same shit sometimes, man. And I'm not saying you have to like anybody. I'm not saying you have. Hey guys, sorry about that. The video, my camera clicked out for a minute. I was just saying, think about the things that you say and do, and ask yourself, would somebody on the left do the same thing? Anyway, that's it for me, man. I just wanted to I just wanted to put this video out because it's crazy that Hulk Hogan's passing away is still causing this kind of controversy and this kind of nonsense. But as far as Joey Swoll and Michael Rappaport go, they got to live with themselves, and they got to live with their own cowardice. And good luck to both of them. Right? That's all I have to say. This is me extending grace to them. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, man. Always appreciate it. Do me a favor, man, if you can, just click the subscribe button, because that always helps me out. Follow, comment, like, do all that cool YouTube shit, and I'll talk to you soon.